Let me be honest with you about something that most people never talk about, something that happens quietly inside your body every single day, and almost nobody connects it to how they feel. I'm talking about your colon, your large intestine, the final stretch of your digestive system that processes everything you eat, absorbs water, and eliminates waste. When it works the way it's supposed to, you feel light, energized, and clear headed. But when it doesn't, when it gets sluggish, impacted, or what I like to call cemented shut, the effects ripple through your entire body in ways that go far beyond just feeling bloated or constipated. I've spent years studying digestive health, and I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that the number one thing destroying colon health in the modern world isn't some rare disease, it isn't genetics, and it isn't bad luck. It is food. Specifically, the foods that most of us eat every single day without a second thought. The foods that are sitting in your kitchen right now, that you had for breakfast this morning, that you'll probably reach for again tonight. And the frightening part isn't just that these foods are bad for your colon, it's that they actively work against it. They slow down motility, feed harmful bacteria, dry out your intestinal lining, and create a thick, compacted sludge inside your large intestine that your body genuinely struggles to move. Today, I want to walk you through the 7 foods that are doing exactly that. I want to explain what they do inside your body, why they're so problematic for your colon specifically, and what you can start doing right now to begin reversing the damage. Because here's the truth, your colon is incredibly resilient. It wants to heal, it wants to function perfectly, and with the right information, you can give it exactly what it needs to do that. Before I get into those 7 foods, I want to ask you something. Right now, before you watch another second of this video, I want you to think about how your digestion has felt lately. Are you going to the bathroom regularly, ideally once or twice a day, with ease, with no straining? Or is it more like every 2 or 3 days, uncomfortable, incomplete, like your body is holding on to something it can't quite let go of? Do you feel bloated after meals? Do you carry that heavy, full feeling in your lower abdomen even hours after eating? Do you feel tired for no real reason, foggy in your thinking, sluggish in your energy, even when you've slept enough? If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to drop a comment below right now. Just write yes or tell me what you're dealing with. Because what I'm going to share with you today might be the missing piece you've been looking for, and I want to know if this resonates with your experience. Your comment also helps other people feel less alone in what they're going through, and that matters. Now, let's talk about food number 1, and I promise you, this one is going to surprise most of you. I'm talking about refined white bread. Not bread in general, I'll be specific. Refined white bread, the kind that's made from highly processed white flour, stripped of its bran, stripped of its germs, stripped of essentially everything that made the original grain useful to your body. What you're left with is a product that is soft, shelf stable, and comforting to eat, but nutritionally speaking, it's almost completely hollow. And for your colon, it is genuinely one of the most problematic things you can consume on a regular basis. Here's what happens when you eat white bread. The refined starch in it is broken down almost immediately in your small intestine. It absorbs rapidly, spikes your blood sugar, and by the time it reaches your large intestine, there is almost nothing left. No fiber, no roughage, no bulk for your colon to work with. Your colon is a muscular organ. It moves waste along through rhythmic contractions called peristalsis, but it needs bulk to grip. It needs fiber to push against. Without it, those contractions become weak, slow, and ineffective. Waste starts moving through your colon like a car with no fuel. It crawls, stalls, and eventually stops. And it gets worse. Refined white bread also feeds the wrong kind of bacteria in your gut. Your colon is home to trillions of microorganisms, and the balance between beneficial and harmful bacteria is one of the most critical factors in your digestive health. Refined carbohydrates preferentially feed certain harmful bacterial strains that produce gas, inflammation, and compounds that actually thicken and slow down your intestinal mucus. Over time, this creates an environment where your colon becomes increasingly sluggish, increasingly inflamed, and increasingly impacted. I'm not saying you can never eat bread again, But if you're eating refined white bread every single day, sandwiches, toast, rolls, wraps, and you're struggling with your digestion, this is one of the first and most important things to address. The second food I want to talk about is processed cheese. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about real, natural, aged cheese. I'm talking about the processed cheese products, the cheese slices in plastic wrappers, the cheese spreads, the cheese sauces that come in a jar or a can. These products are manufactured to be shelf stable, meltable, and cheap. And they achieve that by adding emulsifiers, stabilizers, artificial colors, and a whole list of additives that your body, and especially your colon, does not know what to do with. Real cheese has some nutritional value. It has protein, fat, some beneficial cultures if it's fermented, but processed cheese products, they're high in saturated fat and sodium, they contain no fiber whatsoever, and they're loaded with additives that can genuinely disrupt your gut bacteria. Studies on certain common food emulsifiers, ingredients like carboxymethylcellulose and polysorbate 80, which are found in many processed food products, including processed cheese, have shown that they can thin the mucus layer lining your colon. That mucus layer is critical. It protects your intestinal wall from irritation, it lubricates the passage of waste, and it forms part of your gut's immune defense. When it's compromised, you're more vulnerable to inflammation, more prone to constipation, and your colon becomes much less efficient at doing its job. If processed cheese is a daily staple for you, this is something worth reconsidering. The third food on this list is one that I know a lot of people are going to push back on because it feels healthy and it's been marketed as healthy for decades. I'm talking about pasteurized, low fiber breakfast cereal, the kind that comes in a colorful box that claims to be fortified with vitamins and minerals that you pour into a bowl with milk every morning and feel good about. And look, I understand why these cereals are appealing. They're convenient, they're familiar, they taste good, and the marketing around them is incredibly persuasive. But for your colon, they are often doing more harm than good. Most commercial breakfast cereals, even the ones that aren't obviously candy like, are made from refined grains and loaded with added sugar. A single serving of many popular cereals contains as much sugar as a cookie or two. And sugar, especially refined added sugar, is one of the most disruptive things for your gut microbiome. It rapidly feeds harmful bacterial strains, contributes to dysbiosis, which is an imbalance between beneficial and harmful gut bacteria, and promotes a state of low grade inflammation throughout your digestive tract. Beyond the sugar, the lack of real intact fiber means your colon gets none of the bulk it needs. The puffed grains, the flakes, the clusters, they dissolve almost immediately and offer almost nothing to support healthy peristalsis. If you're eating cereal every morning and your digestion isn't what you want it to be, this might be a significant part of why. Now, let's talk about food number four. And this one is particularly hard for a lot of people to hear because it's deeply embedded in the diet of many cultures. I'm talking about fried foods. Deep fried foods specifically, fried chicken, french fries, fried snacks, donuts, anything that's been submerged in high temperature oil and cooked until golden and crispy. I know how good these foods taste. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but what they do inside your colon is genuinely alarming when you understand the mechanism. When foods are deep fried, the high temperature causes a series of chemical changes in the fats and in the food itself. You get the formation of compounds called advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, and you get oxidized fats. Fats that have been chemically altered by heat into forms that your body struggles to process properly. These compounds are inflammatory. They trigger an immune response in your gut, they irritate the lining of your digestive tract, and they slow down the entire digestive process significantly. Fried foods are also extremely dense in fat, and while healthy fats in appropriate amounts are beneficial, the volume of fat in fried foods overwhelms your digestive enzymes and bile production, slowing the movement of everything through your system. There's also a specific effect on your colon's nervous system. Your colon has its own enteric nervous system, sometimes called the second brain, and regular consumption of heavily fried oxidized fats has been shown to interfere with the nerve signals that coordinate peristalsis. Essentially, Fried foods don't just slow things down passively, they actively interfere with your colon's ability to move things along. And when you combine that with the lack of fiber, the inflammatory compounds, and the sheer density of these foods, you start to understand why someone who eats fried food regularly and then wonders why their digestion is sluggish is looking at a direct cause and effect relationship. Food number 5 is alcohol. And I want to approach this one carefully and honestly because I'm not here to lecture you about alcohol from a moralistic standpoint. I'm here to tell you what it does to your colon because I think most people genuinely don't know how specifically and dramatically it affects digestive health. Alcohol is absorbed very quickly in your stomach and small intestine, and by the time it reaches your colon, it has already begun to interfere with a wide range of biological processes. One of the most significant effects is on your gut bacteria. Alcohol is broadly antimicrobial and not in a selective way. It kills beneficial bacteria along with harmful ones, contributing to dysbiosis and disrupting the carefully balanced ecosystem that your colon depends on. But the effects don't stop there. Alcohol also disrupts the tight junctions between the cells lining your colon. These are the microscopic seals that prevent undigested food particles, toxins, and bacteria from leaking through your intestinal wall into your bloodstream. When these tight junctions are compromised by regular alcohol consumption, you develop what's commonly known as increased intestinal permeability. And this triggers a systemic inflammatory response that affects not just your digestion, but your energy levels, your mood, your immune function, and your overall well being. Regular alcohol consumption also depletes your body of key nutrients, particularly B vitamins and zinc, that are essential for healthy gut lining maintenance and repair. If you're drinking regularly and struggling with digestive issues, connecting those two things is one of the most important steps you can take. Let's move to food number 6. And this one is something that's in an enormous number of packaged and processed foods that people eat without even realizing it. I'm talking about artificial sweeteners, specifically the sugar alcohols and synthetic sweeteners found in diet sodas, sugar free gum, low calorie snacks, protein bars, and a huge range of products marketed to people who are trying to eat less sugar. The marketing logic makes sense. If you want to avoid sugar but still want something sweet, use something with no calories instead. But what that logic ignores completely is what these sweeteners do in your colon. Many artificial sweeteners are poorly absorbed in your small intestine, which means they arrive in your colon largely intact, and your colon bacteria don't know what to do with them. Certain artificial sweeteners have been shown in research to significantly alter the composition of your gut microbiome, and not for the better. They appear to reduce populations of beneficial bacteria and promote the growth of certain strains associated with glucose intolerance and digestive dysfunction. Some sugar alcohols, like sorbitol, mannitol, and xylitol, are also well known for causing osmotic effects in the colon, meaning they draw water into the colon and can cause diarrhea in some people. But here's what's less well known: the chronic, repeated disruption of your gut microbiome from regular artificial sweetener consumption creates a state of bacterial imbalance that over time makes your colon less functional, less resilient, and more prone to sluggishness and inflammation. If you're reaching for sugar free or diet products every day thinking you're making a healthier choice, your colon might be paying the price. And now we come to number 7, the seventh food that is cementing your colon shut. And I want to spend a little extra time on this one because it's probably the most pervasive, the most normalized, and the one that people are most resistant to hearing about. I'm talking about ultra processed red meat products. Specifically, the processed versions: hot dogs, sausages, deli meats, pepperoni, salami, bacon, ham. These are foods that combine several of the most problematic elements for colon health into a single package. They are high in saturated fat, they are high in sodium, they contain virtually no fiber, and they are loaded with preservatives, specifically nitrates and nitrites, that have been extensively studied in relation to colorectal health. I want to be really clear here. I'm not demonizing all meat. Lean, unprocessed meats in moderate amounts can absolutely be part of a healthy diet. But processed meats are categorically different. The preservatives used to cure and extend the shelf life of these products undergo chemical reactions, both during processing and during cooking and digestion, that generate compounds called N-nitroso compounds, which have been studied extensively for their effects on colorectal tissue. The World Health Organization has classified processed meats as a Group 1 carcinogen specifically for colorectal cancer, meaning the evidence of a link is considered strong enough to warrant that classification. Beyond the long term concerns, the day to day effect on your colon is also significant. The combination of high fat, high sodium, zero fiber, and chemical preservatives creates a digestive environment that is slow, inflamed, and inhospitable to the beneficial bacteria your colon needs to thrive. If you're eating deli meats, sausage, hot dogs, or bacon regularly, especially as daily staples, this is something your colon is struggling to handle. Now, I know that hearing all of this might feel overwhelming. Maybe you're looking at your daily diet and realizing that several of these foods are things you eat all the time. And if that's you, I want you to take a breath because I don't want you to walk away from this video feeling hopeless or guilty. That's not the point. The point is information and empowerment. Because here's what I know about the human body after all the years I've spent studying it. It is extraordinarily capable of healing and recovering when you give it what it needs. Your colon, specifically, has an incredible capacity for regeneration. The cells lining your intestinal wall replace themselves every few days. Your gut microbiome can begin shifting in composition within 24 to 48 hours of dietary changes. The motility and function of your colon can improve significantly within days to weeks of removing the foods that were suppressing it and adding the foods and habits that support it. You are never too far gone. Your body is always working toward healing, and your job is simply to stop getting in the way and start supporting that process. So, what does that support look like? I want to give you some genuinely useful practical guidance here because I never want to be the kind of person who only tells you what's wrong without giving you a clear path forward. The single most powerful thing you can do for your colon is increase your fiber intake, specifically from whole plant based sources. I'm talking about vegetables, fruits, legumes like lentils and beans, and intact whole grains like oats, quinoa, and brown rice. Soluble fiber, which is found in foods like oats, apples, and flaxseed, forms a gel like substance in your colon that softens stool, feeds beneficial bacteria, and supports the smooth, regular movement of waste through your system. Insoluble fiber, found in vegetables, whole grains, and the skins of fruits, adds bulk and acts like a broom, sweeping through your colon and keeping things moving. Most people need somewhere between 25 and 38 grams of fiber per day, depending on their body size and age. And most people in modern Western style diets are getting less than half that amount. Closing that gap is one of the most significant things you can do for your colon health. Hydration is the second critical factor, and it works hand in hand with fiber. Fiber without adequate water can actually make constipation worse. The fiber needs water to do its job properly. Your colon absorbs water from the contents moving through it, and if you're not drinking enough water throughout the day, your stool becomes increasingly dry, hard, and difficult to pass. Most adults need somewhere between 6 and 8 cups of water per day as a baseline, and more if you're active or live in a hot climate. Starting your morning with a large glass of water before you eat anything else is a simple, powerful habit that signals to your colon that it's time to get moving. Literally. Movement also matters enormously. Physical activity stimulates the muscles of your digestive tract, including your colon, and promotes more regular and efficient peristalsis. You don't need to become an athlete. A 20 to 30-minute walk every day can make a meaningful difference in your digestive regularity. People who are sedentary consistently report higher rates of constipation and digestive discomfort than people who are regularly active, and the mechanism is well understood. Your gut responds to movement. Fermented foods are another powerful ally for your colon. Foods like plain yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso contain live beneficial bacteria that can help restore and diversify your gut microbiome. If you've been eating a diet heavy in processed foods, refined carbohydrates, and sugars, your gut bacteria are likely out of balance. And introducing these beneficial strains can begin shifting that balance in a more positive direction relatively quickly. And perhaps most importantly, stress management. I know that seems like an odd thing to mention in a video about food and colon health, but your gut and your brain are directly connected through what's called the gut brain axis. And chronic psychological stress has a direct and measurable effect on gut motility, gut bacteria composition, and intestinal permeability. People who are chronically stressed have slower colon transit times, more disrupted gut microbiomes, and more severe digestive symptoms. Finding ways to manage your stress, whether that's through sleep, exercise, meditation, time in nature, meaningful social connection, or creative activity, is not separate from your digestive health. It is directly part of it. I want to bring this back to where we started because I think it's important to frame this properly. The 7 foods I've described today, refined white bread, processed cheese, sugary breakfast cereals, deep fried foods, alcohol, artificial sweeteners, and processed meats are not evil. They're not poison. Having any of them occasionally is not going to destroy your health. What causes real damage is the pattern. The daily, habitual, repeated consumption of foods that work against your colon over weeks and months and years. That pattern, which is the default diet for an enormous number of people in the modern world, is what leads to the kind of sluggish, impacted, inflamed colon function that quietly drains your energy, disrupts your mood, taxes your immune system, and affects your overall quality of life in ways that most people never connect to what they're eating. The good news, and I genuinely mean this, is that change is always available to you. Every meal is a new opportunity to support your body. Every day you make choices that nudge your colon toward better function is a day your body is moving in the right direction. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be an overnight transformation. Small, consistent changes applied with patience and self compassion are what actually work long term. If you found this information valuable today, I want to encourage you to take one concrete action before you close this video. Just one. Maybe it's swapping your white bread for a whole grain version. Maybe it's adding a serving of vegetables to your next meal. Maybe it's drinking an extra glass of water today. Maybe it's taking a walk after dinner tonight. Pick one thing, do it today, and then come back tomorrow and do it again. That's how real, lasting change happens. Not all at once, but one choice at a time. I also want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let me know which of these 7 foods was the biggest surprise for you. Which one are you going to work on first? Which one do you feel like you just can't give up? Be honest. I read these comments. I care about your experience, and your questions and thoughts genuinely help me create better content that serves you more effectively. And if you know someone who struggles with digestion, who feels tired and bloated and sluggish and doesn't know why, please share this video with them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone you love is simply hand them information that changes how they see their own health. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you're walking away from this video feeling more informed, more empowered, and more hopeful about your health than when you came in. That's always the goal. Your colon works hard for you every single day, and now you have the knowledge to start working harder for it. I'll see you in the next one.